Green, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I've been teaching this class for, I guess, going on 8 years now at my current office once a month, and I do teach at different offices, different locations. So, but I call it invest in what you do best because, as realtors, we don't have 401ks, we don't have IRAs, and so I always encourage, this is what you know, this is what you do for a living. Why not invest in what you know and do, right? So today we're going to talk about one second. Yeah, creative deals. Sometimes you have to be creative with you can be creative with investment deals, right? And you need to know what's out there, what's in your tool belt in case you invite. All right, how do I get these people in? Admit. All right, in case you need that when you're dealing with a seller, right? You need to know what's available, what you can do, right? What's out there. So that's what this class is about. All right, being creative with investment deals. All right. So just some disclosures. I'm not offering legal advice. Please talk to attorneys for that. Wholesaling involves drawing legal documents. Talking with title companies or real estate attorneys are recommended for that. This is all legal. We use attorneys and title companies. So about me, so we had one class before with Rayvon. This is the second one, but I'm definitely going to tell you guys about me. So I've been investing for 13 years. I've been a realtor for the last 11 of those 13 years. I've wholesaled and flipped over 450 properties ranging from 2,000 in profit to 135,000 in profit. And I've helped and benefited from a business partner of mine who's accumulated over 430 doors, okay, mostly apartments. All right, so I always talk about a wholesale deal, the golden rule in investing. So this is what every professional investor in Houston uses. Okay, this is their formula. Now, do some people pay more? Sure, but a lot of those guys, they're buying 2, maybe 3 a year. I'm ramping up to buy 5 a month right now. So this is the rule that we use. Okay, so so it is 70% of the after repair value minus repairs equals my maximum allowable offer. Okay, so for example, as you see here, and last time we used the board, but a lot of people couldn't see it. So as you see here, you have just round numbers, $100,000 after repair value. We need it at 70%, which is 70,000. Minus repairs, let's say it's a small house because it's only worth 100 grand. So it needs 20 in repairs. So I can pay 50 grand. So, potential, if you get it for 40, I can pay you a potential of $10,000 wholesale fee. Okay. And I've done those. I remember I paid 22,000 actually recently I did a deal. I think never mind. We're going to talk about that later. I'm not going to talk about that yet. All right. So let's get that. All right. So creative deals. So these are all the creative deals that I know that I can think of as far as being creative with a deal. Okay. So you have owner finance. What's owner finance? Well, you can be the seller. You can owner finance it. You can be the buyer. You can owner finance it, right? From the seller. Okay. You have your subject to. We'll talk about that. That is taking over a property subject to its existing financing. Okay, we'll talk about that. You have partnerships, right? You can create a partnership. You have private money. Does anybody know what private money is? We'll talk about that. Okay, that's really all I use, except for when I'm refinancing with a bank, and we'll talk about that. Have you ever had a loan where you pay 0 interest? Well, I have, and a good friend of mine has. Okay. So have you ever had a loan where you make 0 payments? Well, I have, right? So these are not normal deals, right? These are for investors. These are investor deals. These are usually short term. Okay. And we're going to give examples. We're going to talk about what it is and then give examples of deals that we have done that that fall into that category. Okay. So let's talk about them in detail. All right. All right, here we go. All right, so when I'm trying to do a creative deal, I have to ask certain information from the seller to see if the creative deal will work or not. So some of the questions I will ask is, first of all, how much do you owe, right? What is your interest rate? Okay. Did you buy in a 30-year term or did you buy in a 20-year term, right? I'm talking about this because this is going to be what's called your subject to. You can take over the note subject to its existing financing, okay? So these are the things we need to know. What is your monthly payment? Does that include taxes and insurance? Is that escrowed? If not, how much is your taxes and insurance? And also, of course, we need to know the repair costs. And if all this lines up, we can possibly do this deal, okay? So so that's for subject to. So let's go to subject to, and then I'm going to go back to owner finance. So if we got all those questions answered, then we can possibly take over the note subject to its existing financing. So I say that means, let's just say, I'm going to give you this example, but well, let's just give the example and we'll talk about it if y'all have questions about it. So the seller, Jenny, she has a house in Bay Colony. House is in pretty good shape. And she's 2 months behind on her mortgage, and she's like, look, I can't afford it. I'm going to let it go. I just can't afford the note anymore. I lost my job, right? So, in this particular example, it needed a carpet and, cleaning, really. She owes $159,000. Her interest rate is 4.5%. Her payment is $1,565, and that includes taxes and insurance. The after repair value is $210. She's 4.5 years into a 30-year loan. We'll talk about why you might need to know that later, okay? So this is really everything we need to know on this particular deal. So if you could take over that note at $159,000 and just put in new carpet and clean the place or maybe paint it, is that a deal? Would you think? Anybody? Would you buy that deal? I think everybody's on mute. But so that would be that's definitely a deal, right? Especially now, it might not fit right into our 70% deal. It might be a little bit over, but it needs very little work. There's a lot of equity. I know the neighborhood. It's going to go fast, especially if we make it decent. And so I took over that note subject to the existing financing, which was with Wells Fargo. I caught her up on her note, right? I caught her up on her 2 payments that she was behind, so that's helping her. I actually gave her some money when we sold it. I didn't make any money when I bought it, right? But we basically both went on the deed, okay? And I'm making the payments and fixing it up and paying the mortgage while I sell the property, okay? Okay. I have another example of a subject to. We'll talk about that. Okay. Is that complicated, or does that make sense? What do y'all think? Make sense?
It makes sense.
Makes sense.
It makes sense.
Okay. So that's something you could use. If somebody's behind, they have some equity. So that is definitely something you could use. If you just you just have to come up with the money for the repairs and the holding costs. All right. So let's jump back to owner financing is another creative way. So you can owner finance as a seller or a buyer, correct? Right. So who would owner financing work for? These are people that maybe they can't get a regular bank loan, or maybe they own their own business. So So maybe they make a lot of cash, but they don't claim it all on their taxes, right? They're trying to save money. Happens all the time, right? What else? Could be, a few other reasons I can think of, but so the good things about owner finance is, I can go get a loan. Let's just say a long-term loan. I can get let's just say 7%, and he'll allow me to what's called wrap that loan, right? So basically resell that loan. Okay. So now I'm charging 9%, right? To an owner finance buyer. If you go on HAR and type in owner finance, the majority of those are going to be at a 10% rate. Okay, so that's normal for owner finance. Okay, so you make money because, first of all, you got a good deal, right? You're buying at a good deal, like we showed in the example. All right, and I'm going to have to move you all over so I can see this. There we go. All right, so if you're all in at 100 and it's worth 140, well, you're already making money there, right? You're also making 2% on the interest. Okay, they will be putting a down payment, so you make a little bit. Owner financing is not, you sell a house and then you make 20, 30 grand sometimes. Well, it's not that. Okay, it's longer term, right? But you make a little bit on the down payment. Let's just say you make, they're putting 20% down, but they have their closing costs, they have their insurance they got to escrow, things like that, right? So you're going to get, let's just say you're going to get at the end of the day 5 to 8% of that in your pocket. Okay, so we're already making money, right? So here, and then you're going to make a monthly check. So you're basically getting your profit monthly. Okay, you're getting your profit monthly instead of all at once like a flip. Okay, so let me ask you this. I'm going to compare these two things because a lot of people don't get it. Between a rental and an owner finance house. Is a owner finance house an appreciating asset or depreciating asset? What would you guess, somebody?
Appreciating.
Anybody else? It's actually a depreciating asset.
Oh, that was what I thought of at first. I should have said it.
Yeah. Why do you think it's a depreciating asset? Because I've sold it to these people at 140,000, and guess what? I'm never going to get a penny over that. And every month they're paying me, they're owing me less and less, correct? Right? So this would be a depreciating asset. Okay. Now, is a rental an appreciating asset or a depreciating asset?
It would be appreciating asset.
A rental would be an appreciating asset because they're making they're not buying it from me. They're renting it, and they're paying down my mortgage. And guess what? There's always appreciation, right? It's about 3.5% a year average in Houston, right? So that would be an appreciating asset. So these are the differences, right? Both are good, but I think you should have both, right? Because one's depreciating, one's appreciating. It's just a good mixture to have. It's a good to be diversified. Okay. So let's see what else. Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right. So I'm going to talk about my very first deal I did, I guess now 13 years ago. So the homeowner owed $74,500. The house, I looked at, it was in pretty good shape. She had redone some things, but we still needed to paint. We still needed to finish the kitchen. So we spent we thought it was going to be about $4,000. I think we ended up spending like $6,000. Okay. First deal, The after repair value was $105. Okay. The homeowner was behind 2 months under. Man, you always remember your first deal. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember the lady, really nice lady. Actually, it was a referral from a realtor in this office. He's like, look, she's going to lose it. Lady at my church, see if you can help her. said, okay. So she had a 6% interest rate, and her payments were $985 a month. That's including principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. That's what PITI stands for, but that includes the note, taxes, and insurance. So I took over her existing mortgage. I didn't need to borrow the money, the $74,500, because I took it over and we closed at a title company. We had an attorney write it up. Okay. All right. And I borrowed $13,000 for repairs, holding costs, and different things. Right. So we borrowed for repairs, staging, title, attorney's fees, commissions. Right. We had to pay when we sell. So we ended up making $15,000 on that deal. And for that ARV, that's about right. So that went really smooth. That was my first deal. I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna get $74,500, but we did the subject to. I had been going to an investment club, and I talked to a lady. She was like, yeah, I'll loan you some money. I said, great. So I borrowed the $13,000 from her, and we ended up making the deal happen. All right. All right. So let's talk about partnering. So the good and bad about partnering. And I have people that come with, hey, let's partner. Maybe I got some money, or maybe if they have a deal, believe me, the deal is more valuable than the money. Okay, it is if you do this business long enough. And so they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, I've got the money. I want to see if you want to partner with me. Well, okay, so the good part of it is, and I have partnered before, is you don't make any payments. Right? You're diversifying your risk, right? Between you and the other person, right? And you, on these deals, it's however you make them, right? You're partnering. So there's no rules. You write the rules with your partner, right? So for example, the last one I did, it was, if anybody knows San Leon, it's probably far from you guys, but it's over here close to Kemah, Bay Cliff area. It's this peninsula, really weird area, and so it's surrounded by water, and all the houses on the edge are on the water and pretty nice. There was a couple $1 million houses on the water over there, and then in the middle there's like trailers and block and beam homes. Right? It's not that big of an area, so really kind of weird area. So I was like, well, I have an idea what I think this is going to sell for, but I would say this is kind of risky, right? So I partnered on that one. He brought the money and the labor. I brought the deal and I sold the deal, right? So that one worked out pretty good. But so that's the good part about partnering. So for me, you see, I have 2 lines on good and bad. I have a lot more, right? So if I would have just borrowed, we made a total of $70,000 on that, and we split it, right? So I made $35,000 on that deal. Now, if I had borrowed that money, let's just say at the highest rate at 18%, and I had messed up on repairs, and I had my holding costs and stuff. Well, even if it took longer to sell and all those things, I still would have probably made 50-something thousand, right? Not 70 maybe, but 50-something, right? So it's always cheaper to do it on your own, right? And then people are like, 18%. Well, it's a lot cheaper than giving away half your profits, right? Okay. So if the deal will allow for it, then, don't let hard money because it's a high rate or whatever get in the way, right? Yes. Do you want cheaper money? Do you want to shop for that? Yes, you do. Right. But don't let a deal go because you're paying a high rate or something, if it's a deal, if it's an actual deal, right? If it matches that criteria I was telling you or less, right? So yeah, as far as the bad, it's much cheaper to borrow hard money and went through that depending on percentage. I think I talked about that. All right. So what is private money? So private money is what I use all the time. And we have right now, I'm counting on the board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 deals we're using private money on right now. Okay. So what is this? This is typically from an individual that has money sitting in their checking account, 401k, or their IRA. yes, you can lend on real estate from your 401k and your IRA. Okay. And if anybody's wondering about that, there's a third-party company that I can tell you about that can help you with that. So they loan on the real estate, and I'm not in over 70, I'd say in the higher ARVs to 75% of the ARV. So, you know, that's their protection. They have a first lien position on that property. So if anything were to happen, they would get that property. Never has in 13 years, right? But that is their security, okay? So private money typically will be shorter term money, interest only payments. Okay, so if I'm borrowing 100 grand, I'm only paying interest on that note. I'm not paying down any principal at all. Okay, because it's short term, so it's for a flip, right? So the people I'm borrowing the money from, I'm paying them interest monthly, typically, right? And then when I sell it or refinance, they get all their money back, right? Plus all the interest I paid them. Okay. So then, you know, and I recycle a lot of their money. Okay. I've used one lady, actually a realtor in the office I've used, that's in this office. I've used over $2 million at a time with her. So this is what a lot of big investors use all the time. And I didn't put the difference between hard money and private money, on this slide, but let's just say hard money is harder to use. There's a lot more hoops to jump through. Private money is not. They are doing your due diligence, though it is actually a relationship that you're building, you know. And all the people that have loaned to me have been long-term relationships. Okay. All right. So here's an interesting and cool deal that actually my good partner and call him my second dad, he did. We started real estate together. So Tom Barry is a good friend of mine, successful real estate investor. He now has one of the biggest hard money. He has the biggest hard money company in Houston. Really good guy. But back in the day, he owned he's a crazy guy. Him and his wife did their first 22 homes, redid their first 22 homes themselves. I mean, they had their knee pads. They were putting up sheetrock, laying tile. Okay. So different kind of guy. All right. But he also was using these dumpsters from this company, and the guy ended up hurting himself. He had to go back to his state. I think he fell and broke something. Anyways, he had to go back to his state, and he said, "Tom, I gotta go." He's like, "You're my biggest client. If I made you a good deal, would you buy this dumpster company?" And Tom's like, "Tom, know what? Tom cannot pass up on a good deal for his own, even if it's not for his own good." So he got a good deal on it. He ended up buying the dumpster company while he's redoing his rentals, while he's wholesaling, right? Anyway, so he had this dumpster company. This lady called him in Texas City. She had 2 houses on this main road, and the lady there were rentals, and he pulled up, and she was griping, right? "Man, these tenants tear it up, blah, 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 you know, this sucks." And Tom was like, "Well, why don't you sell these?" And she's like, "Oh, nobody would want these," right? So of course, you know, that was perked Tom's ears, right? He's like, "Well, I might." She's like, "Really?" Like, "Yeah." He's like, so he found out there was a 1-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, small little house and a 3-bedroom, and actually like 4 storage units in the back. All right. And so the lady was collecting $500 a month on the 1-bedroom and $800 a month on the 3-bedroom. Now they were under market because she wasn't fixing them right. You know, she would just clean them out and rent them out again. So you know, she sorry, this is kind of blocking my view here. All right, so she said she wanted $60,000. So Tom said, "Well, let me ask you. You were collecting $1,300, right?" All right. He said, "Well, I can't pay you $60,000. He said, "I could do 45 cash, or if you want to be creative to get closer to the number you want, I can give you 55,000 if you'll take it in payments." Okay. So he said, what are you collecting on the rents again? Oh, about $1,300. He said, okay, well, what if I pay you $1,300 a month for the next, I put 3.5 years, I think that would be 4 years. For the next 4 years. Oh, I'm sorry, 3.5, yes, equals 55,000. Yes. So for the next 3.5 years. And she was like, well, that's about what I'm collecting in rent now, and I don't have to deal with any tenants. She's like, yeah, I'll do that. He's like, great. So he went in there, he bought them for 55, he fixed them up, actually was helping him lease them at the time, but wait, this was 13 years ago. So I leased the 1 bedroom. I think we got a $950, and the 3 bedroom, we actually got $1,150. Okay, so he's cash flowing, right? First of all, and what did he just negotiate? He negotiated he's going to have these houses paid off in 3.5 years with no interest. Let that sink in for a minute, right? So in 3.5 years, he's still going to be collecting $1,150 plus the $950, and he's not going to have a payment. Isn't that pretty cool? And he got the seller what she wanted, close to what she wanted, 55,000. Okay, so be creative. All right. All right. So let's talk a little bit about funding and how I get my money and what I told you about the private money. Now I'm going to talk to you about bank financing. You want to hear about that? Sorry, it's pretty quiet. I know everybody.
Yes.
Okay. I got to get used to these Zooms. All right. So you're not going to go to your Wells Fargo or your Bank of America and tell them, hey, I've got a property that, I fixed up. It's in my LLC and I have a tenant in there and I want a loan. They usually do not want to do LLC loans, right? They don't want a loan. They won't do a loan to your LLC. They'll loan to you sometimes, right? But usually they're doing FHA, VA, conventional loans, right? So the banks I'm talking about is Texas Citizens, Moody Bank, Spirit of Texas, your local commercial lenders. Now I say commercial lenders. They're doing what's called a commercial loan on a single family home. Okay, let's talk about that. All right, so what is a commercial loan on a single family home? All right, so if I go over to Texas Citizens, which they're maxed out on these loans right now, but Moody does it, Spirit of Texas, there's other banks, but I have a lot with Texas Citizens, so we're going to talk about them. So they actually do not have a license to loan to someone who wants to live in the home. So if they did that, they would get in big trouble. What they can do is loan to businesses. Okay, so they'll do typically a 15 to 20 year amortization, so it's not a 30-year, with 1 point up front at closing. All right, so if I'm borrowing 100 grand, I'm paying $1,000. And so 15, 20 year amortization payment, right? My payments are based on 15 to 20 years, but I have a 5-year balloon payment. So it's due in 5 years, the whole loan. So what happened? Oh, shoot, what am I going to do, right? 5 years, right? Well, don't be scared about that. In 5 years, I'm either going to sell it or refinance it with them. The only reason they do that is because they want to keep up with the rate on the stock market, right? It all has to do with that. If they can get more money over there, then they're going to put their money in that. Okay, so in 5 years, the interest will probably go up, right? But I'm going to owe a lot less. I'm going to refi. It's not a big deal. Okay. So these banks will loan typically 70 to 75% of the appraisal value because now it's fixed up, right? I fixed it up already and I'm refinancing out of my private loan. All right. So, you know, in the first couple loans I did with Texas Citizens, I said, well, I said, Nick, I'm in at 65%. He's like, okay, we'll loan 70%. I was like, okay. I said, well, I was thinking in my head, is he gonna pay me to refinance with them? He's like, I was like, so I said, just double check in before I submit everything. I was reminding you I was 65%. We'll loan 70%. Okay, I said, let's do it. Let's see what happens, right? So so for this example, the appraisal came in at 140. So 75%. Anyways, I borrowed 105. They lent me 105. Okay. I mean, I was in at 91,000, right? So there's a $14,000 difference, right? So so at closing, there's some closing costs, right? Minimal. But what do you think happened with that extra money? Any guess? Anybody guess what happened?
Did you pay it back to the loan?
You got the
Put it in my
key.
pocket.
Receive that money?
I put it in my pocket.
Oh,
So they paid me to refinance with them. That's how I like to look at it anyway, right? They loaned me 70% and I was in at 65%. I just had a really good deal, right? So I bought it with private money. I didn't come up with any money to buy it. I actually had a tenant in that already, so I didn't even make the mortgage payment. I actually went a little bit under on my rehab costs, so I think I paid myself about $3,000 for that, right? So I paid myself $17,000 on this deal. I'm in at 70% of the after repair value. The tenant is paying the mortgage. Actually had to, you know, it's now nice and everything, and I've worked with them. They were there for a long time, and we gradually got them up to market because it was a house, very nice house now. It wasn't before. So I paid myself $17,000. I got this great house that a tenant's already in and paying. How much money out of my pocket did I come to this deal with? I see you shaking your head. Zero. I actually paid myself, right, for buying this house. So how many of those can you do? Is there a limit? No, as many as you can get your hands on, right? So this is when you know what to do and you can find good deals, this is what you can do, okay? Now, one more question. That $17,000, is that money taxed? Any guesses?
Well, your screen says this is tax-free money.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say that it's not.
It is. It's not taxed because guess what? It's a loan. It is a loan. I'm going in debt, right? Yes, I'm good, but my cash flow and all that, right? So it's a loan. So no, it's not taxed. It's tax-free money. Okay. Pretty creative, huh? All right. Where's my, oh, did I freeze? Here we go. All right. So I got these on everything, on every slide now. I call this real deals, real numbers, every class. So this is a house I'm actually putting up. Are we putting this up today, Tina, in League City? Rent pictures? We should be putting up today or tomorrow. This house turned out amazing. I actually put on my Facebook. I was like, oh, this is a house in the Heights for 500-something thousand. I was like, well, it looks like it. I mean, it looks like a Heights house for real. We did, look, I can brag about this part because I don't handle any of this anymore. I don't handle the redo anymore. I have a designer and a contractor, and I didn't even know what they're doing. But it turned out really nice. Okay, so let's just go over the numbers. We bought it for $65,000. Actually, my lead wholesale assistant brought it to me, so he made $7,000. So when we bought this had he had been working this for a year. This took him a year on this one, follow up. And we had, so we called the people, they weren't ready. We finally got a hold of them, and I was on the phone. He got me on the phone because I'm the best on the phone when I'm talking to sellers. And I asked them, well, what do you want for it? And they were like, well, we're not sure. We were wondering what you might offer. So I said, that they have another offer, and I told them that my lead whole assistant, he actually lives in League City. His mom lives in League City. We're right here. These people were out of state, right? We're right here. It's in our backyard. We would love to get this property and work with you, right? So I gave them some background on that, and then I said, what? And they said, well, where do you want to be? I said, well, I would really like to be at 65. I could maybe do a little more, but with as bad as the house is, that's really where I need to be. And they told me they had somebody else that was, made an offer. I think it was a lie because anyway, they came back 2 days later because they had an as-is appraisal for $77,000. Okay. So my lead wholesale says wanted the deal. He didn't want to lose it. He said, well, why are we offering less? I said, well, that's the numbers. I don't care what the appraisal came in at. That's the numbers, right? That's the formula, right? So they came back 2 days later and said, we'll take the 65,000. So my lead wholesale assistant, he's always like, that's too low. And then he's always surprised when they come back and like, all right, let's do it. All right, so we figured $35,000 for construction costs. 2 months ago, I partnered with my contractor. And so anyways, we won't get into that, but our construction costs, and this had a hole in the roof. There was mold everywhere. It was bad. So it needed everything besides foundation, and the sellers had put a roof, but it needed everything else. So we came in at $30,426.18. So we know our numbers. All right, you have to know your numbers. All right, so we're listing it for $165 this week. Okay, so that was a great deal. That was a great deal. All right, so here's another one. I didn't get pictures. I did a Facebook Live, and this is just some of the pictures I caught off of that, but this one was really bad. And most people will run so far away from these deals that it's not funny, right? So I bought it from a good friend of mine. The after repair value is $150. We bought it for $50. The house needs everything from foundation to, you see all that new framing? Like those boards were not touching the ground, the frame, right? So it needed a ton of work, lots of termites, things like that. It needed everything. This is that's the address at the top, MLK area. It was really bad. All right, so I paid the wholesaler $50,000. He actually got that under contract for $17,000. But now he is spending money monthly. He's probably spending $2,000 to $5,000 a month to find these deals. But he made 33 grand on that deal, and I didn't care. Worked for me, right? So the budget was $40,000. We're actually going over $6,000, right? But we saved on the other one, and we're going to list this one for $150. We're still going to make good money, right? It's just a lot of work, which I'm not scared of. You get any of these, I don't care if it's burned or termites, crack slab, and I don't care. My contractor's my partner. I don't care, right? If it's a deal. All right. So those are the two current deals that I got on this on here, and that is the end of this class. Any questions? Did y'all learn some things from this at least? And also, if you come across any of these deals, I would love to help you. Me and Rayvon have worked some deals together, and I bought from her. If you need any help with anything, or if you need anything from me, let me know. I'm gonna put my number up here so y'all can have it. All right. I don't give my number out to everybody, but that's it too. But the classes, I treat y'all differently. I want to help you guys. Okay. That's a 282-281-683. 2229. Nathan. All right. So I hope the class was helpful, and I hope it got your mind being creative with deals, because that's always fun. And to know that that can be done is an eye opener sometimes. So so anyways, any last questions or anything y'all want to talk about before we log off? If not, then we will get the next class scheduled for next month. And we'll keep doing this if y'all are getting value out of them. And if y'all want to Facebook friend me, please do. Nathan Haley. I post stuff on there all the time so you can learn from. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Rayvon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll
Thank
see
you.